Okay, I think we can get started now. Everyone, thank you so much for attending Congressman Issa's Military Spouse Education and Career Innovation Session. We have some wonderful guests with us today who are going to be speaking about the great programs that the Department of Defense has for military spouses. So without further ado, we will start with a message from the Congressman and hand the panel over to our experts.
Good morning, everyone. This is Congressman Darrell, and thank you for joining us today for our informational webinar. This is the latest in a series of webinars in which we are bringing information and subject experts directly to you. Today's session will examine the Department of Defense Spouse Education and Career Opportunity Program. We are very fortunate to have Erica Slayton and Marcus Beauregard from the Department of Defense to discuss career and educational resources for military spouses, including launching of the new SECO online portal. After the presentation, we will welcome your questions. If we are unable to take all of your questions, or if you have follow-ups, I'd love you to be able to call our California offices for additional help. So if you'd please write down the following number, 760-593-6116. Again, 760-593-6116. Finally, our offices will be hosting future webinars on topics of interest to you and others. If you'd like to be kept informed, please sign up at our website at www.issa.house.gov. Thank you again for joining us, and it's our pleasure to bring government experts directly to you. And now I'll turn the webinar over to our guest.
Great, and good morning. My name again is Erica Slayton, and it is a pleasure to be a part of this webinar to share information about Department of Defense programs, and particularly the Spouse Education and Career Opportunities Program. Speaking as a military spouse myself, in fact, former military spouse, these programs are really near and dear to my heart, and I cannot wait, along with my colleague Marcus Beauregard, to share with you all of the great things that are available to military spouses. Before we get started, I would love for you to share in the chat on a scale from 1 to 5, with 1 being not so familiar to 5 being very familiar. I would like for you to share with me your familiarity with the Spouse Education and Career Opportunities Program, or SECO program, I will call it from now on. 1 being, I've heard of it, to 5, yes, I know all about it. I use it all the time. I would love for you to share in the chat your familiarity with the SECO program. And Aaron, thank you so much for sharing. I see a 1, and so I cannot wait, Aaron, to just share with you everything that's in store for you. So thank you so much for sharing that. And as we go along in the presentation, there'll be other opportunities to interact, but it's important for me to know exactly where we need to focus in on this presentation. So thank you. Well, why don't we go to the next slide? Let's just dive in and share exactly what the Spouse Education and Career Opportunities Program is. But before that, I just want to talk to you about Military OneSource, because Military OneSource really is the entry point to the SECO program. So on the next slide, as we advance here, I want to share with you that Military OneSource is a 24/7 call center and website that provides information on every aspect of military life. And, here's a little trivia for you. The top reason why service members and families reach out to Military OneSource is for support around spouse employment. And so this is the gateway to to career coaches and a ton of other resources through the Spouse Education Career Opportunities Program. We also receive requests for relationship counseling and tax services. So there are a whole suite of services, but what we're really going to focus in on today is the Spouse Education and Career Opportunities Program. So on the next slide, what I want to do is just hone in on the various aspects of SECO. So SECO is a virtual extension of your installation employment readiness programs. And it starts with a master's level certified career coach. They can support military spouses around resume writing, mock interviews. Maybe you don't know exactly what you want to do, or perhaps you are a military spouse who's been out of the workforce for some time, maybe raising children and want to get back in the workforce or changing careers. That's when a career coach can really help you. The second part of the SECO program is the MySECO website, which I cannot wait to share with you. An enhanced MySECO website, and we'll get to that on the next slides here because there's so many interactive features that I want to make sure that I share with you. The third aspect of SECO is the MyCAA, or the My Career Advancement Account. It is for eligible military spouses, $4,000 non-competitive scholarship. We'll talk more about that here on the next few slides. And then last is the Military Spouse Employment Partnership. I don't know about you, but as a military spouse, I was always very hesitant to tell an employer that I was a military spouse, but not so with the MSEP program, because we have more than 500 partners, companies who signed a statement of support with the Department of Defense to recruit, to hire, promote, and retain military spouses in various career fields across various industry sectors. And we have a number of events throughout the year that feature our MSEP partners, and we'll get to a slide here where you can get connected to some of our events. So as we go to the next slide here, I'm gonna really focus in on the website and why you should go to the MySECO website right now. You go to myseco.militaryonesource.mil, because wow, we are so excited about this product. We leverage the latest technology to really personalize and improve the military spouse experience. And we were informed directly from military spouses about what they wanted out of the website. It's much quicker now to get to information throughout the website. And I'll show you exactly how we do that on the next slide. So what I'm going to show you on this next slide is the home page of MySECO. And you'll see a number of balloons here with various information. But what I want to point your attention to first is the search bar right on the home page. We know that as a military spouse, you're short on time. I'm short on time. Everybody's short on time. So this is a way. This is our global navigation search engine that's optimized so you can quickly get to the information you want. You can type in the search bar a keyword, or you can search by category. Maybe it's an article that you're looking for, a job you're looking for, maybe it's an event. And so it's right there in the middle of the page. If you go across the top, you'll see various menu topics such as About, which gives you the major components of the SECO program, which I've just talked about, like our career coaches who offer those specialized career coaching packages for military spouses, from career readiness to information technology to maybe you want to start your own business. So they offer those career coaching packages to support you in your career and education goals. You'll see the Get Started link there as well. Again, you can go to the Get Started button and you can learn about who's eligible for the SECO program, and also some different opportunities, again, to get started, to get logged into the MySECO website with a DS logon. The third menu item there is Contact Us. That's where you can learn about the 3 ways to connect with our career coaches. First is through our 800 number, 800-342-9647. You can live chat at myseco.militaryonesource.mil. And thirdly, you can send an instant message when you're signed into your account directly to a career coach who can support you. And then there are other various aspects across where there's the menu item for for events, where you can stay in touch with all of our events. There's also the live chat button. And then there's a hamburger menu, which on the next slide, I really want to make sure that I make sure you know about. So when you are logged in to your account, there is a whole world of features that are available to you. Again, that personalized experience through our website. So one of the things I really want to make sure that I share with you is when you're signed up to MySECO, be sure to complete your MySECO profile. Your MySECO profile allows, when you opt in, allows those MSET partners that I talked about to search for you, to search for if your interest is human resources or marketing, it gives them the opportunity to find you as a military spouse. Your inbox is there where you can, again, receive messages from our SECO coaches. You can save jobs under My Jobs from our MSET partners. You can also tag MSET partners, so save your favorites. There's also on this menu, My Events, so you can see all the events that you have signed up for and those that you can go back and take a look at as well. There's My Transition. So as you are transitioning, looking to transition, and we all transition, you can then have some resources that are available. There are short videos that you can favorite and go back and take a look at. And then there are My Resources, which through SECO, you get access to LinkedIn Premium with a MySECO account. And then when you PCS, you also get another year's worth of LinkedIn Premium. And then also when you transition out of the military as a military spouse, you'll also get another year's access of LinkedIn Premium. So that's how you can get signed in. And then there are also several career assessments that are available to you as a military spouse, from Tradeify to the Myers-Briggs to Entrepreneurship Edge. All of these assessments help you determine what your next step is through the SECO program. And then lastly, there's resumes, where you can review resume templates, you can build your own resume. And then also, you can see what other resumes are out there that may be similar to yours that you might want to incorporate into yours in terms of the example. So really great interactive resources that are available on the MySECO website. I could go on and on about the website because there's so much there, but I do encourage you to go to myseco.militaryonesource.mil to explore. On the next slide, I do want to talk to you about some new offerings through the SECO program. And one is, this isn't new, but through the MyCAA, the My Career Advancement account, this is an opportunity for eligible military spouses whose service members on Title 10 orders in grades E1 to E5, O1 to O2, and W1 to W2 to get support around meeting their education and career goals. So it's a $4,000 non-competitive scholarship to help spouses in the pursuit or maintenance of a license, a certification, an associate's degree. We also added continuing education credits. And then lastly, later on this year, we will be adding national testing. So we're really, really excited about this new offering. And if you follow us on social media, once we include the national test, then you will be the first to know. So let's go on to the next slide here. I do want to share one other resource that is available to you. In fact, there are tons of resources, but this is a new one. This is Udemy. As a military spouse, you can access Udemy, which is an online learning platform that offers more than 5,000 courses and 35,000 hours of content. This offering is only available through June 29, 2022. So be sure to contact SECO so you can get signed up for this offering. Lots of different topics you can pursue, from entrepreneurship to human resources, marketing and information technology, and all these pathways to certification. So be sure to check it out. And then on the next slide, I do want to share with you about another offering that we just introduced as well, called Flex Jobs. And certainly as a military spouse and in this day of age, It's very important to have flexible opportunities. For some people, that's very important, flexible and remote opportunities. So we're bringing this to military spouses. And so again, you'll have a free 1-year access to Flex Jobs, which is a job site that has many companies that offer these flexible opportunities for military spouses. If you're interested, again, contact SECO. We'll give you a personalized code so that you can have that 1-year membership access to SECO. And then this is my last slide here before I turn it over to my colleague. Please connect with us. There's so much that's available. Follow us through any of our social media platforms. You see the times here available for SECO career coaches who are there to support you and serve as your accountability partner. And then I also included the link to the SECO events calendar because we have so many events that are going on. And the last thing I'll say is that we did introduce a My Military OneSource mobile app that's available in Apple Store and Google Play. And we'll also share with you within this app all the resources that I just talked about and more through the My Military OneSource app. So with that, I am going to turn it over to my colleague, Marcus Beauregard.
Thank you so much, Erica. Every time I hear your presentation, I learn something new. I am always amazed that you can pack that much information into a 10-minute presentation because there is so much going on in SECO. Very, very appreciative that I have this opportunity to present with you. I'm going to take everybody on a different tour. I'm going to tell you about the Defense State Liaison Office, and I'm the director of that office, and what we do, and how it relates to employment and specifically licensure. So our office, it's a small office. We have 10 people altogether. 8 of them work out in the states. And so you can see Miss Kelly Mae Douglas covers California along with the other states in the Southwest. I'll give you her contact information at the end, but what she works on, what we all work on, are 10 key issues every year. And we take them out to the state policymakers, the State House, and we ask them to eliminate barriers for military families. Things like licensure, where it is different for you because you move so often, as opposed to somebody in the private sector. So I've highlighted the 4 issues that we're dealing with in terms of military spouse licensure. As you can see, it's implementing the licensing law to make sure you can make good use of it. Improving the laws within the state, and then something very special that we're working on, which is licensing compacts, which provide essentially true reciprocity. And I'll show you that on the next slide. But right now we're working on 8 compacts. So you can see the professions that we're working on right now. We have an opportunity right now. We're also working on a cooperative agreement that allows us to develop more compacts, and I'll tell you more about that on a subsequent slide. So if we go to the next slide, yeah, this was a little complicated, but believe it or not, this makes sense of what we are doing in terms of licensing. What we're working on is 3 lines of effort, the things I just told you about. Let's get everything working that's out there right now, get full implementation and accessibility, so you can see it on a website and know how to get your license when you get to a new state. And then near term, we want states to do as best they can, and there's lots of options they have for improving licensing, but we said at a minimum, give a military spouse a license within 30 days of application and give it to them with minimal paperwork up front. So they may ask for a bunch of verifying documents later on, but give you some kind of a license so you can get to work based on minimal documentation and a simple application. Now, long-term, we're working towards compacts as a solution. Those were those 8 occupations that were professions that I showed you, because what compacts do is allow the practitioner, not only just military spouses, but all practitioners within a profession, to hold a license in a state and be able to work in all other states without relicensing. So if we can go to the next slide. So before I get into the status of California licensure, I just want to mention that one option that we have where we're working on new compacts. The Congress gave us the opportunity to work with professions to provide professions to, or grants to professions so that they could establish compacts, because it takes money to develop the language, etc. And so right now we're working with teachers, social workers, massage therapists, dentists and dental hygienists, and also cosmetologists and barbers. So we've got 5 more compacts that are coming along. Now let's get into the status of California, and I'll give you the bad news first, and then I'll give you the good news afterwards. So the bad news is that the state's not doing all that well in terms of the existing law. There is one plus side to that. They make it very well accessible on their website, so it's not a difficult exercise to get to the information. At least from our review of that, of all their data, you can get to their website rather easily and get to the military spouse segments of that. The problems we have with their existing laws, it doesn't fit that model I just talked about, where you could get a license within 30 days. The other problem is what they do have on the books doesn't cover enough occupations. They also, for attorneys, they require supervision. So if you come into the state, you don't have to take the bar exam, but they won't let you work independently. You have to work for another attorney. That isn't sufficient. And teachers basically have just temporary licensure. They do give some flexibility within the what you have to present to the board for your licensing, but basically they just provide a temporary license. The other bad news is that right now they have not approved any compacts. Now to the good news. The good news is that there is a live bill right now. It's called AB 107. And it's going through its last committee. This is a big thing. So it's gone through one whole chamber. It's gone through all the committees in the Senate. And so it's down to one last committee to get through, and then it'll go for a floor vote. So we're very hopeful. What this particular bill will do will cover all the occupations within the Commerce and Business title, which means it covers all health related and all commercial professions that require a license. What it doesn't cover is teachers or attorneys. So we're still working on that, but it will provide that license within 30 days with minimal paperwork. So we're looking forward to seeing that get passed. So with that, I'll go to the next slide, which is just basically our contact information. So that's my contact information, and that's Kelly Mae Douglas's contact information. Now, I'll just advise you, she's not going to be the one you need to contact if you have problems getting your license application completed, because she's working with state legislation, and she works on not only licensing, but on education stuff and in a host of other issues. So she's more focused on the legislature and the policymakers. But remember the career coach that Erica talked about. That's the person you need to connect with, because they're there to provide you that kind of assistance to get you through the speed bumps that you're having with your career. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to our moderator and see if there are any questions.
Well, thank you both so much for your wonderful, energetic, and super informative presentations. I learned so much about the different programs and ways you are advocating for military spouses. We are now going to turn to a question and answer portion of our information session. So participants, if you look to the bottom of your screens, you're going to see a Q&A button. Here you'll be able to type any question you have and our presenters can answer them for you. I will read them out loud. I've gotten a few in my email from a couple folks that couldn't attend. Maybe we can start off with those while everybody's thinking of a question. They might cause people to come up with their own questions from them, but please feel free to type in your questions. Let me see what I have here. Yes, so the first question is actually for Erica, and our listener asked, does the MySECO portal serve all military spouses, all branches of service, regardless of the amount of service, active duty and reserves?
Yes, and thank you for that question. So yes, the MySECO website does support all services, military spouses of all services, National Guard and Reserve. There is a caveat with regard to the Coast Guard spouses. Their service member would have, and this is the same eligibility for Military OneSource, the service member would have to be activated as a part of the Navy in order to access the MySECO. And secondly, upon separation from the military, then those military spouses would also have access to the MySECO website. I'll point out that there's a lot of information on MySECO that you don't even have to be logged in to receive information about. So there's a lot before the login. The only other caveat that I will share with regard to whether or not MySECO is available to all military spouses is what I shared about the MyCAA scholarship account. It is designed to be a workforce development scholarship. And so it is specifically for those spouses in those eligible grades, again, service member on Title 10 orders from E1 to E5, O1 to O2, and W1 to W2. And again, that would be for all military spouses with the exception of Coast Guard.
All right, thank you. And one other question regarding some of the events that you mentioned, Erica. What type of events do you host? Are there job fairs? Could you just explain that briefly?
Absolutely. We host events all throughout the year. In fact, so where should I start? So let me start with social media. So throughout the year, our social media platforms will host events for that are facilitated by our career coaches on various aspects of the SECO program, whether it's the MSEP job search or more information about the career coaching packages. We also have a live stream in which we invite MSEP partners to come on live to share what job opportunities they have that are available to military spouses. Also, every year, we host the Virtual Military Spouse Symposium. It is a phenomenal symposium. We've had, at our last symposium, more than 3,500 military spouses that joined us. The first 2 days were really focused on, again, those education and career resources facilitated by our career coaches. We also had MSEP partners on sharing information. And then one thing that was new this year is we had created on the third day a relationship summit that really was a phenomenal event in which we had senior leaders on sharing about information about their relationship, how they overcame challenges. And we also incorporated not only the services within this event, but also spouses. So you can hear a military spouse voice on what they did to overcome their challenges as it relates to their relationship, or again, education or career opportunities. We also host throughout the year MSEP job virtual hiring fairs. And so again, those are very popular. It's a virtual platform. You can take advantage of these virtual hiring fairs in the comfort of your own home. That's what I really love about it. And You can join at any time, and I encourage you again to take a look at the events calendar that's at myseco.militaryonesource.mil. Follow us on social media, and you'll be able to check out all of the events that we have throughout the year.
Very exciting. Thank you, Erica. I have another one for Marcus. And the question is, have any of the licensure requirements or other aspects of it, have they been altered during the pandemic or due to the pandemic?
That's a very good question. And yeah, and there have been some provisions that I think were made early in the pandemic to allow some of the healing professions flexibility to get into states to provide additional services, but those have not been long lasting. What we have seen, though, is that it was a wake-up call for the states. They recognized that we need to have better mobility for our professionals, particularly those in the healthcare professions. And so there is a renewed desire, I think, to see these interstate compacts be approved by states, because once they're in place, they provide that kind of flexibility for professionals and also for hiring agencies. And so it's a real benefit in terms of getting care to consumers. So I think that's maybe what we've seen, at least as far as the change, but there's not been any permanent changes in state law as a result.
That sounds like good news. Hopefully that'll encourage California a little bit.
Yeah, we're very hopeful we'll still be able to get a compact one of these days. The nurse licensure compact is sort of closing in on the West Coast. They're reaching over 40 states, and so the likelihood is that once everybody else is engaged in this process, they'll probably have very few reasons why not to join.
Well, let's hope so. That would be very good news. Those are the questions that I received via email. I would encourage any of our listeners, if you have any questions, to type them in now and give you a couple minutes to think about any good questions. All right, great. We have a question. We have one listener saying, my husband is retired Air Force. Would I be eligible? I think this goes to Erica.
Yes, and thank you very much for that question. So in terms of the SECO program, military spouses whose service member is either separated or retired from the military is still eligible for the SECO program up to 1 year post-separation or retirement. And that is a consequence of the National Defense Authorization Act of 2019 that allowed us to expand that eligibility from 6 months to 1 year. And I don't know if you're like me, when my service member retired, it was a challenge for me to sort of figure out what my next step was, and especially with the transition. So having that year's worth of support through my SECO and through Military OneSource overall was so valuable. So yes, you have up to 1 year post-separation or retirement to use the resource.
Very good question. Do we have any others? Give you all just another minute before we close out with our wonderful presenters. All right. We have a follow-up question to the last question. Since you retired 3 years ago, would that mean I am ineligible?
That is correct. You would be ineligible for the, after the login, some of the resources that I talked about, the support from a SECO career coach or the interactive tools. But again, everything before the login, you still would have access. Anything that's public facing on the MySECO website, you would have access to and would be able to, read the articles, you to be able to also with, social media, all of our live events, that's open. Those are open to the public. So feel free to take advantage of the events that we have through our social media platform as well. But overall, in terms of some of the other sort of interactive exclusive services that are offered, yes, you would have to be in that 1 year, into that 1 year period. What I would also share too is you may even want to connect with your installation to see what resources they might have available to spouses whose service member have retired. So that might be another option for you as well.
All right. Well, thank you very much from both me and the listener who asked the questions. So thank you as well. If anyone else has any questions, we are here and ready to answer. All right, well, if there aren't any more questions, I'm going to thank everyone who joined us today, and for our panelists for helping us understand the wonderful resources that are available through the Department of Defense for military spouses. The Congressman and his staff hopes this information session was helpful and that you were able to get some of your questions answered. If anyone thinks of additional questions, it's hard to come up with them on the spot sometimes, please feel free to call our California office. We can assist you with any follow-up you have. That phone number that the Congressman mentioned at the beginning is 760-593-6116. Our next webinar is going to be on August 25th. And it is going to be about cybersecurity and best practices against ransomware. So be sure to tune in. Please call with any questions. You'll be able to register for our next session at the Congressman's website, http://isa.house.gov. We'd love to have you there, so please join us or share with anybody else you know who may be interested. And again, thank you all so much, and we hope that you found this information session helpful and have a great rest of your day. Presenters, thank you so much for your invaluable knowledge. Appreciate you so much, and I hope you have a great day as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.